Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to go ahead and discuss different types of lab equipment, specifically ones that can be used to either hold objects or to move objects. The first thing I want to discuss is a comparison of different types of tongs. So we have the crucible tongs and the beaker tongs, and their names are pretty descriptive. So crucible tongs are used to move hot crucibles, beaker tongs are used to move hot beakers. And if you look at the shapes, you can see that they are different. So the beaker tongs kind of have that one big opening. That is because they're going around the sides of the beaker, and we want to be moving it from one location to the other. The crucible tongs kind of have more of a pincher type at the end. That is so that you can pick up the lid and remove the lid from the crucible. And then the smaller kind of opening, that will pinch around the sides of the crucible. Because the crucible is so much smaller, the opening of the crucible tongs is smaller than the beakers, which are much bigger for the beaker tongs. So we also have something called a ring stand. So the ring stand will act as a brace or support when we're setting up chemical reactions. So it has a heavy base that keeps everything upright, and then it has basically a pole that we can attach things to when we do our chemical reactions. And one thing we might attach to it is a utility clamp. Okay, so that kind of right side of the picture, that is where we would clamp it to that ring stand. And then the green kind of pinchers at the end, that is what we would use to clamp small pieces of glassware. So we can use this with a burette, which, see, the liquid measuring equipment is something we can use to measure liquids. But we can also use it for Erlenmeyer flask is another really common option, but something that's a little smaller, maybe a test tube. We also have ring clamps, which, again, the name is pretty descriptive. It's a big ring that acts as a clamp. So this is going to attach to the ring stand, and it creates a platform for heating. So if we're using our crucible and lid or our clay triangle, the ring stand is really common for that. So the next thing we can use to move compounds around is a glass stir rod. And again, the name is really descriptive. It's a rod made out of glass, and you use it to stir things. Now, one thing I want to emphasize is that you never, ever, ever use the glass stirrer to either poke or prod at something. You only use it to gently stir. Oftentimes in the past, I've not had this in one of my classes, and I hope I never do, but someone forgets the rule about only using it for stirring, and they try and poke something with it, and then the glass goes straight through the palm of their hand. That would be painful and gross, so don't do it. Just use it to mix. So next we have the scoopula. Yes, it's kind of a silly name, but it is used to scoop or transfer solids from one area to another. So this is really helpful when you're measuring out how much of a solid you need. Now with the scoopula, you're always going to hold it at the wide end. And the pointed end, that is what you're using to kind of scoop or move the chemicals around. So the pointed end, we do not touch. The wide end is where we hold. The narrow end, that pointed end, is where we are moving the chemicals. So next we have a test tube rack. So test tube racks help to keep test tubes upright when we are using them. This prevents the liquid or whatever's inside the test tube from kind of just sloshing out. Some styles of test tube racks, like the one I have pictured here, also have pegs. This lets you put the test tube upside down on them so they can dry during reactions or between reactions. And then we have the test tube holder. Okay, so notice, very similar names. We have the test tube rack and then the test tube holder. The test tube holder lets you hold a test tube while you're heating it. The test tube rack lets you store multiple test tubes upright when you're using them. So slightly different uses and purposes. So this is helpful if you ever need to heat something in a test tube. Obviously, glass gets hot when you heat it. This helps to prevent a little bit of distance so you don't burn yourself. But basically, if you squeeze on the two ends of the test tube holder, that creates a little pincher that will pinch right around the test tube, so you can go ahead and put it into the flames. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. Otherwise, you can go ahead and check out some of these examples in the back of the room. Bye.